terminology. Of course, via Zoom we have my co-host. He is still one of the young guns of WESN, despite the fact that, you know, sometimes he acts well beyond his age. Here's Mr. Keaton Shaw. Good morning, Keaton.
Good morning, Sean Michael Small. Good morning to all of you. First of all, Sean, let me just state that it's just the genetics, man, that probably make me look older than I should. In terms of sounding older, well, I mean, I'm not entirely sure why that may be the case. But nevertheless, it's good to be here. Apologies for it having to be via Zoom, but circumstances only allow for such. And if I may just say on your comments, though we always express our opinion, and we're not afraid to express our opinion, regardless of our intention, the viewer might actually always interpret it another way. You know, some may claim that you are being political. Some may claim that you have a political bias. That's just how it is in commentary. But I can assure the viewers that Sean Michael Small and myself, we are impartial and we're non-partisan when it comes to politics. So just bear that in mind as we go forward, because the criticisms can become quite heavy at times, but certainly we always do our best, or at least try to, in terms of justifying it. So that's basically how I start this program, because I know, Sean, that of how we spoke yesterday and what we plan to speak about this morning, the possibility of that happening is definitely high.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, so the way that did not come to mind, it's almost as though, right, if you look at our politics through a different lens, it's almost as though the established politicians of the two main parties are kind of like in an informal cartel like OPEC. OPEC sets the price of oil, and our parliament sets the cost of living, right? And the reason why the opposition is included is because we don't really see actual competition. What we see is bubble, and what we see is mudslinging. We don't actually see a competition of ideas, right? All politicians are for everything. Are they for women's rights? They will all say yes. Are they for fathers' rights? They will all say yes. Are they for LGBTQ rights? They will all say yes. Are they for the working class? They will say yes. Are they for economic growth? They will say yes. Are they for development and culture and diversity? They will say yes to everything. But you can't say yes to everything. You cannot go left and right at the same time. Keaton, am I correct to think that even if it's not a formal cartel, because they don't really compete, it's a cartel? And now the question is, because we haven't necessarily seen it yet, what happens when the new players that are on the periphery, because the PDP is still on the periphery, will they break the cartel or join the cartel?
Well, using that term cartel, people might mistake it because it's usually associated with one word. So, you know, let us just clarify that. It's using a term, though it may be associated, we're using it in the correct definition. With all of that, Sean, I think one of the points that we should raise, as you mentioned, new players on the block, whether or not they'll join the existing cartel, or whether or not they will continue to stand alone. In terms of the People's National Movement government, this is a government which has actually made what political parties would see as extremely difficult decisions, what political parties might see as essentially their political lifeline in politics. And for long, that has been social welfare, that's been grants, and that's been subsidies. And we've debated that multiple times on this program, that yes, social expenditure and subsidies need to be lifted. It is the timing in which you do so, and policies around these subsidies which you adjust or you amend essentially to ensure that even though a change is going to come and people may feel uncomfortable about it, there are other avenues or other options which could help essentially relieve that sensation of discomfort. However, back to the original point, with them making those difficult decisions, ask yourself, why is it or how is it that, excuse me, after making such decisions, they are still able to win consecutive elections? After commentary from the Minister of Finance about they have not rights, it is yes. After you heard from the Prime Minister on his plethora of very, very strange and unnecessary comments, sometimes derogatory, even from certain members of Parliament who, you know, I'd like to say that they surprise me and they shock me sometimes, but then again, if I take a look at the past, that's not necessarily the case. They're just quiet, and then they just come out of nowhere and make such irrational comments. They're still in power. They still have a lot of support, and I'm not entirely sure how or not entirely sure why. But I go back to a quote from the Minister of Finance, Colm Imbert. He was actually attending a conference, a virtual conference, and he stated the reason why the People's National Movement has been so successful, even though we've had to make such decisions which might be deemed as political suicide, is because the public, the perception is the PNM is less corrupt than other parties involved. And notice it in the user, less corrupt. He didn't say not corrupt at all. He said less corrupt. So when it comes to other parties, such as the Progressive Democratic Patriots, and their chances of standing alone, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work for that to happen. Whether or not I think that they should join the People's National Movement, if you want true change in Trinidad and Tobago, you're not going to join another party. You're going to really go on your own and you're going to fight. If joining other smaller parties to make a bigger opposition is the case, fine, I understand that. But you're not going to join the old horses in order to bring about a fresh change. That's not the case at all. That's just you basically wanting to win an election and you having a seat at the table.
Now, to that, I'll just say, I slightly disagree with you there. It depends on how your entry into the older parties happens. If it is that you are the fresh face, that I want change, and you just become a part of what's there, then I'll agree with you. That doesn't seem to be very promising. But if this is a wave within that party to change it, then I think at the very least we should give it time to judge it. It might very well, because the culture is so ingrained, revert back to the norm, just with different faces. But at the very least, we do, if there is seems to be a bit of a change internally, we should at least give them a chance. When Dr. Keith Rowley was elected, his first time as Prime Minister, I was more than ready to give him the benefit of the doubt until he showed me something. When Kamala Persad-Bissessar was elected as Prime Minister, the same, I actually thought, you know, when she held her First Minister accountable and fired him, I thought that was a good thing. Unfortunately, once she got to like 10 and 13, then you know, similar to with Dr. Rowley, once certain patterns of behavior happen, now you start to ask questions, are they the best candidate for the job? Now, back now to the PNM, because you started talking about something there, and I think it goes into a point you raised last night with me, and that is with regards to their messaging. It seems quite insensitive over the budget. It actually started off, at least in my recent memory, with statements from Tobago West MP, Shamfa Cujo, or is she, I can't remember if she's West or East, but she was very combative with reporters, I believe, with regards to some of the statements and some of her defenses on the budget. One editorial basically called it "Blame the Victim" strategy from the government overall. Then we had a situation with Keith Scotland that you brought up, where, you know, basically he's saying, yeah, he will ride his bike. And first of all, I really want to know, will he ride his bike? And apparently there's also something that Marvin Gonzalez said, talking about sacrifice and what we have to sacrifice. And I think Minister Gonzalez might not realize that people before the budget were already sacrificing. They were already sacrificing the things that he said people need to learn how to sacrifice. So to me, it's other members of the media might call it that the government is out of touch. it's hard to say that is not potentially the case because, first of all, I really want to know if MP Scotland is going to be serious about riding his bicycle wherever he has to go for his work commitments, because we already saw that that's not necessarily the safest thing in TNT, and we don't have proper laws to protect his safety. Keaton.
Well, first of all, to MP Keith Scotland, let me make it clear. I've interacted with him on a number of occasions. He's a very nice individual. And I'll just end that statement right there because though he may be a nice individual, I sometimes wonder exactly where are his brains. You know, sorry, I use an adjective. Where is his brains? And honestly, the reason is that when was it? Does Scotland look like a gentleman who rides a bicycle? In fact, when was the last time you rode a bicycle? I'll be very honest with you. People still do that, and that's excellent. But I can't tell you the last time I rode a bicycle, and nothing is wrong
to work
with his advice in terms of, listen, you know, we can start riding bicycles. I can understand if you're making that statement as it relates to, you know, trying to combat entities, trying to fight the really decreasing health of a population. So, okay. But when was the last time Keith Scotland rode a bicycle? He looks like he hasn't gotten on a bicycle in I don't know, since he was in Hugh Wooding. This is the thing. I have no problem with the People's National Movement bringing forward a budget. You're always going to have criticisms, and you're always going to have those backing it up. If you're bringing forward a budget in which it's bringing a great amount of discomfort to the general population, right? General population, because there's still those who actually don't care about the budget at all, or who don't have to worry about it at all, then make good arguments about it. Keith Scotland cannot come and say, you know, he has his coal pot. I still have a coal pot as well, but he roasts his breadfruit. You can't cook everything on a bloody coal pot. You know, it's just not practical, especially now. Furthermore, I'd love to see Keith Scotland riding a bicycle to court and carrying all his documents with him, carrying his bags with him. I'd love to see Keith Scotland riding a bicycle to Parliament. If you are going to preach these things and share these messages with the public, okay, practice what you preach. It's a similar instance with Shampa Kojo. She says the media is cherry picking at her comments. Fine, let's not cherry pick at your comments. Let's look at what you essentially alluded to in terms of people having to make difficult decisions and having to make sacrifices in this day and age. I completely understand the message that you're saying, but where your message gets skewed is the fact that after that, you jump into your chauffeur-driven, premium-fueled luxury vehicle to then drive off to go to a place where you're living that I don't even know, you know, how you ended up there, even if you paid for it, or, you know, because you even get a housing allowance every month, maybe you're renting it. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The messaging at the end of it all is that you're saying this. What sacrifices have these government ministers made? You know, okay, fine. You want to make sacrifices? 1, you're not allowed to purchase more than 1 vehicle per term. 2, you have to pay your own gas bill. Pay your own gas bill. It's not going to be covered by the government. 3, these ministers, in this day and age where we all have to make sacrifices, are still living a life to a certain extent of luxury because they benefit from many perks. In the past, you could understand if government ministers did that. But just as how these government MPs and ministers have made the argument that times have changed and times are changing, okay, I get that. So then you could no longer benefit from those perks because we simply can't afford it. The luxury vehicles that you purchase is completely unnecessary. I don't see the need for that. And in a sense, it's impractical as well for the roads we have in Trinidad and Tobago. So the messaging at the end of the day, their arguments are poor, their messaging is completely inconsistent, and their actions do not align with what they preach with. And that is where citizens are going to get upset, and that's where citizens are growing fed up every day.
But meanwhile, maybe it's because I did not really take in the source material properly. But the opposition leader's response to the budget doesn't really seem any more creative than the budget itself. So I'm kind of, we're not going to have much time before the first break, so we might have to continue this after the break, Keaton. But I just thought it's important to say, and this is why we go back to the original point now. It's almost like if it's an economic cartel. Because for almost everything that she says here, the government kind of says as well. Granted, some of the minor details are different, but neither side are really big on details. So the differences we're talking about what we would intend to do, or what we're saying that we promise that might happen if things work out, and etc., etc. The only thing that she has different is, well, she's going to restart Petroshin. Okay, that seems interesting. I would like to see a detailed plan of how you think that possibly could happen. The figures don't have to be the actual figures, you know. But just like something a little more than I'm going to restart Petroshin, something a little more about how I'm going to simplify the tax system, right? I get it. You're not going to have all of the details of what it is right now to say that this is definitely how we're going to do it, line by line, how we're going to do these things. But something a little bit more meat in your plan so that we could say, hey, that actually might work. Because, first of all, you know, we're going to go back to sugar. Why sugar? How much money are we going to really get exporting sugar? We can't consume all the sugar. That's not helping food security. So I don't know where that came from. Maybe it was a minor point that's being blown up by the media. But if it is a major cornerstone, that means that the opposition is also kind of not really paying attention to what it is that the people need, that the economists are saying based on the needs that are in front of their face. The very obvious, sugar ain't helping food security. Keaton, I'll let you respond. I'll let you respond to what I just said after the break. Folks, let's take a quick break here. WESN, Keaton Shah, Sean Michael Small on Talking Point on your home of Caribbean content. This is WESN. We'll be right back.
Delivered nationwide. Kiss Enriched Bread.
Fill your day with love.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through. Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces flagship Mac Bean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Site, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. only on WESN, Content Capital.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Welcome back to Talking Point, and we just left off where you might have seen that the topic was about the opposition's response to the budget, and I'm having my doubts with really and truly how feasible their alternatives are. I don't necessarily see how we're going to get fuel security when we have to still import the oil. I don't know if we have the workers and the structure in place for the refinery to even work out however many years later. So Keaton, what do you think about potential sugar and the oil refinery restarting?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm not entirely sure about the oil refinery. It's going to take quite a bit of money to restart any refinery or to build a new refinery right now. Whether or not that's feasible, I'd love to hear the opposition's economic plan as it relates to that. Could you still hear me, Sean?
Yeah.
All right, sorry, because there seems to be an issue here on my end with the Zoom. But anyway, as long as you can hear me. As I was saying, I'd love to hear the economic plan for restarting the refinery, of rebuilding the refinery, because we don't even know what the state of the old refinery is in right now. As per sugar, here's my thoughts. I think sugar is a market right now that's dominated mostly by Ghana. To break into that market is going to be quite difficult. However, I think that beyond sugar, there are many other opportunities for exports and agricultural opportunities for exports. I think that we harp on about it and we do nothing about it, but we have a cocoa development company. I mean, what has happened there? We have great products, local products of chocolate, even coffee. We have local coffee that you can also take into account as well. Hot peppers, for example. Do you know that Trinidad and Tobago's hot peppers are actually a favorite amongst Europeans? Holland in particular has a taste for Trinidad and Tobago's peppers. So all those things you can look at. Now, bear in mind, we're in a position right now where we can't necessarily supply our market in its entirety to feed everybody in Trinidad and Tobago. So if we are going to start looking at crop products that we can export, we have to start somewhere that we already have one foot in, and that's certainly the cocoa industry. I also think that we need to expand in our services sector because whilst it may not necessarily be an export, it certainly can bring in foreign exchange. So for the opposition's response, as per Petrotrin and sugar, Petrotrin, I don't think so. Sugar, possibly, but extremely difficult to break into that market right now.
I think, well, actually, there's India, there's Brazil, and there's Indonesia. I don't even know if Guyana is in the top 3 or even the top 5. There was a dip, I think, with Indonesian sugar. They started having to consume what they produced, I think. I can't remember. This is a while ago, and it made me think maybe sugar could become viable again. However, I think the examples you gave, cocoa and hot peppers, would make more sense because we have a qualitative advantage. We can't compete quantitatively, so we need to compete with quality. And with cocoa, we know that we should have that. It just depends on could we get that quality across all production in the country. Now, the opposition leader did say that she did question, again, the finance minister's using $90 per barrel. She said that on Friday, oil was $83 a barrel. And I do admit that while I'm not necessarily thinking that things will work out wrong for the budget automatically, I do think there's some merit to say, why are we going to expect oil prices to be high? Now, to be fair, it wasn't at over $100 a barrel. So it's not as though the Minister of Finance estimated. I think you could even argue he was a bit underneath with regards to the potential peaks that we have seen over the last year. But at the same time, the situation is going to come to a balance. And oil is not exactly natural gas. So that situation there in Europe is not going to play out like exactly dollar for dollar. When one increases, the next one will decrease, and they will always be level. So the situation might be coming back down to a more stable reality with the price of oil. Who knows, maybe we'll see another shock again. And I'm wondering if we're prepared for that. You think that the finance minister, he was right to put it at $90 a barrel? Is the opposition leader correct to call him out and say, hey, it probably should have been lower? Or are you trying to just, because she said it's to not make payments into HSF. I'm saying the Minister of Finance is being optimistic and trying to keep his budget balanced and is hoping to have money for the government to spend that may or may not be there.
Well, I think, in my opinion, that based off of what the Minister of Finance will have presented, energy estimates for the next year, I think what he based his budget on, what he predicated it of the $92 per barrel, in my opinion, that was a high assumption. I would have thought that if oil is averaging between $95 to $100 a barrel, actually, I think he made the argument of $92 to $100 a barrel. You may even want to bring your budget off of an estimate of, I would even say as much as $88 to $90 a barrel. You never want to go for the lowest estimate because we understand the volatility of the oil and gas market. So I think it was a high assumption on his part. Now, his optimism is certainly one that I hope the rest of Trinidad and Tobago will share. But even the opposition leader pointed it out on Friday, as you just mentioned, the volatility of the market and the price of a barrel of oil on the market now. So high assumption on the part of the Minister of Finance. I would have thought it would have been better if he had given a low estimate. But also bear in mind, he brought the deficit. He closed the gap on the deficit. If he was to estimate at a lower price, that deficit would have been greater than the gap between actual expenditure and income. As per the opposition leader's response, I'll be quite honest with you, Sean, I think it's the most decent thing the opposition leader has said in quite some time. Her entire, we can debate her arguments put forward, such as petroleum, such as sugar. And as we're doing right now, we can even debate the price, the argument that she's put forward in terms of the price that the budget was predicated upon. However, in my opinion, her entire response, I didn't see anything wrong beyond what I just mentioned.
That is true. Right now, what we're saying is, with regards to delivery, it's the government that is seemingly shooting themselves in the foot. And for what reason, we don't know. Just, again, Shamfakucho basically called on people to sacrifice. Well, we're not really seeing the example from the leaders of the nation. Just want to point that out there. However, we don't have too much time left before the next break, but we should have just enough. The TTDF accepted or agreed to 4%. Their leadership agreed to 4%. They're now the second organization or institution that has agreed to the 4% wage increase, which might not be popular with their members. But as one economist has said in the media, he has asked unions, where exactly do you expect the money to come from to pay more than 4%? So Keaton, is this a good sign? Is this a bad sign? Should they have held out for a little bit more, with a little bit more? I mean, it'll be interesting to know, if 6% would have made people less disgruntled and make all of the bacchanal go away. Should we have done that? I don't know.
Sean, the best hand that the government played in terms of wage negotiations and back pay negotiations was the budget. That's the best hand that they played on their arguments. Put it this way, the unions have stated that they wanted this sorted out before the end of the year. You've just had the budget read. You've got Christmas coming up. You've got end of year coming up. People have expenses to cover. And who knows how people are thinking. We have Carnival next year, so we need to get money in our pockets now. I think this was going to happen. I think, and you're going to see more unions accepting the 4% offer. The mere fact that the government has remained still and has taken the decision to not return to the negotiation table, stating that 4% is our final offer, regardless of the marches from all the unions, regardless of the protests. And we see even in the instance of Tutor and the one-man protest being put forward by the Tutor president, I think you're going to see more unions accepting this offer because the government's not going to move on their position. And with people desperate now to get cash in hand, put it this way, 4% is better than 0. Yeah. 4% is better than 3%. 4% is better than 3.5%. So it's just money in their hands, money in their pockets. They're going to accept it. And I'm not entirely surprised. I'm still waiting though for the bigger unions, I suppose, such as JTM, the PSA, even Tutor, to see their response, because the response when the Amalgamated Workers Union accepted it was essentially betrayal. So,
well, I understand why it might seem. It's easy to say, well, look, they stopped negotiating with us. So, that's not right. That's unethical. They're not talking to us. The problem is, with regards to WASA restructuring, the judgment ruled against the union, saying, no, it could go ahead. One of the points that the judge made was that there was evidence that the government had multiple meetings, and by multiple, I think it was over 100, with the relevant unions for WASA. So after 100 or 136, however much it was, I might have gotten the minor details on the figure wrong. How much more meetings is it going to make a difference if one side or the other is not going to budge? And I think in this case, this is the reality that I thought the unions would have run into that wall of the reality of no matter how unpopular it is, the government seems to be quite firm in this situation. And to me, I don't think our politicians have this great principle, backbone that they're going to, or I don't think they're ideologically as stubborn as what we see in the UK with Liz Truss and her new finance minister and their budget, or their mini adjustments to their economic policies. I don't think we have that ideological stubbornness here, right? I just think that their backs are against the wall and they have to do it, and if it costs them the next election, it doesn't matter because they don't have the money to pay. So I hear what you're saying. 4% gives them some back pay, gives them something for Christmas.
Very, very quickly, Sean, if I may, your argument is flawed slightly. You said you don't think we have that ideological, I'm sorry, what's the correct term that you used?
I think I said stubbornness. Right. Because that's what it seems like going on in England. They're stubborn now with their beliefs.
Well, it's amazing that with Liz Truss, she in her first month as Prime Minister, she sent the markets into chaos and has really gotten her own cabinet very upset. However, down here you said ideological stubbornness, and here's where your argument is flawed. There is no political ideology in Trinidad.
Exactly.
There is none at all. So it's just remove the term ideological and just put stubbornness. I think politicians are stubborn. I think politicians are selfish, and unfortunately, I think the reason for their stubbornness and selfishness is because they have not one clue what to do. You know, they have not one clue how to manage. They have not one clue how to balance politics with everyday management of Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, I have a question to you, because I think the biggest line item is Ministry of Education. The irony is, you might know this a little bit better than me, but it seems as though the financial difficulties of the Ministry of Education, we don't know how big it is, but it's probably very big. It's probably very big given all of the things that we've talked about for the last year. Is it that they just, you know, we just don't have the money, we can't afford it, and they don't have any good ideas on how to fix this situation because we built an education system that wanted to spend money as though it was 2013, 2012, 2008, when we had that high amount of government revenue, and the system was not well designed to deal with what happens when that revenue just stops or slows down?
I think, okay, so to answer your question, and my mind is going all over, so forgive me. When a budget is read, the Minister of Finance usually gives a breakdown of the allocation, and as he did last week. And ask yourself, where does all that funds go? What does it go to? So, has the ministries been given their entire allocation that they were due to receive as read in the budget last year? As per the Ministry of Education, that large sum of money is mostly for recurring expenditure. Because the construction of schools, they've probably put forward approval of construction of schools for probably 2 new schools. I think Scarborough would be one, and then there may be another here in Trinidad. But we don't even maintain our schools, EFCL versus MTS. You see what's going on there. And what's transpired in terms of the construction and maintenance of schools. Our issue here is that we have no idea how to balance. Recurrent expenditure will always be the biggest bill. But did you know that even with recurrent expenditure being the biggest bill, there's still a shortage of teaching staff here in Trinidad and Tobago? So the Ministry of Education, if they have the money, they don't have enough money. I don't think any ministry will ever have enough money to develop that ministry or whatever portfolios fall under that ministry. And the Ministry of Education is one example. And put it this way, Sean, as much as he gave that the minister this new incentive with Kate, which I think is good, I keep making the argument, the end result is an individual graduating without any opportunity. And as much as your parents, my parents, our grandparents, you know, our uncles and aunts before us will say, you know, well, in our times it was difficult as well. You know, we grew up, it was very difficult. You know, expenses were there, money wasn't always coming in. I think the difference between then and now is that you had far greater opportunity back then than you have now. I think that is the main difference. You had more opportunity back then than there is now.
Well, folks, we have to take a break, but I will just say this. My problem is that we're not getting the return on the investment in education. But the trick is, education is not something we just can't invest in or reduce the investment in. We have to invest in it. We have to, which means that we have to get those returns, because the future of the nation is in jeopardy if we don't. The future of the nation is in our children's book bags. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will get into a discussion with Acting ASP Ashraf Ali with regards to the TTPS and their call, their outreach to communities. We'll be right back here on Talking Point.
Come travel with us as we explore Diwali across the globe. Diwali is celebrated in many countries worldwide, but do you know the traditions and practices of each nation? From Guyana to Australia, WESN presents Diwali Passport, October 3rd to October 23rd, with replays on October 24th. It's Diwali Passport, a WESN exclusive.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Welcome back to Talking Point, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, last week we got into a very specific part of community policing with Sergeant Swole. Yes, I know, no relations. But now we have with us our regular TTPS media ambassador, Acting Assistant Superintendent of Police, Ashraf Ali. And you're here today. One of the things that we're going to speak about, and I do think it's important to counteract perhaps public participation in the process of law enforcement or anti-crime work. And that is community outreach of the TTPS, I believe. Is that the best way to put it? You all have a lot of programs trying to build up that rapport with the people.
Yes, and good morning to you again and all the viewers. It's good to be here again. We had a very interested, I know Mr. Small had a very interesting conversation with you last time.
Yes.
And that is what our community policing concept and philosophy. Now, community policing is a philosophy. It's a philosophy throughout the world. It has already been existing, and is a philosophy we're trying to reinstill in the police service, and getting to understand what is taking place with respect to in the community groups and how we could interact. And one aspect of it, as school recently opened, and you know, we're already in this situation where we have the issues with parenting. We thought it was necessary to bring in the concept of parenting, and from a policing perspective, because the police has some unique advice to give parents, because we see things that the parents may not, right?
Yeah.
Because we will interact with children, and just like parents, I mean, I'm a parent, sometimes you don't really know what your child has been involved in, or type of friends and things. So from our perspective, we give parents an opportunity to see and ask them to open their mind a little more to understanding their children and the environment they're in.
By your perspective, basically, you all have seen, the TTPS has seen the outcomes. You all, and you all could then now say, well, this is what happened to get to that outcome. And you're trying to now give that knowledge to the parents. Don't let this happen, because this is what tends to be the consequence of not putting certain steps in place.
And it's exactly. So we have been seeing this over a period of time with the gang-related activities. People, they don't like to hear us say the word gang-related. But it is true. It is a fact. It is because of certain type of gang environments that certain type of crimes and criminal activities take place. So based on our data, based on our research, based on all the information that we have collated throughout the years, community policing, right, and the philosophy, remember community policing, the philosophy is that solution, as I have here noted here, is solution to problems, not from the police finding the solution, but assisting the community to get solutions to their problems. As opposed to we always telling the community, we want you to do this and we want you to do that. No, we have to sit with you, understand your community, understand how unique your communities are. What may work in one community may not work in another community. So it's about tailoring that aspect of it and working towards you in a partnership to help you develop your community, what works best for you in your community. And that concept is what we're looking at.
Yes, sorry if I cut you there. I just wanted to know if you were able to give some examples of the TTPS and the tailor-made policing for communities across Trinidad and Tobago, because, you know, I like what I'm hearing, but I can't say that I've seen that or experienced that in any of the communities which I've visited.
Okay, so let's generally we have station councils. One of the concepts of the station council was to get persons from the various communities sitting together with the police and discussing the challenges that they're having in their area. So station councils has been established throughout all the station districts. So that's one that is unique, unique. It's synonymous to all the 9 divisions, the 10 divisions throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Then we have town meetings. Town meetings are another avenue where persons sit with us. We bring in the stakeholders, we allow the persons in the community to come in and voice their concerns, their opinion, give us some feedback, give us some suggestions, which we note. And we now will channel those things. At the same time, based on the stakeholders that are at the meeting, we will now bridge those gaps, because councils are there, we have different persons are there that can help bridge the gap, because sometimes the persons in the community may not have known these individuals that can assist in particular areas. That is what the town meeting concept is about.
So like some of the simplest things is to just tell communities, hey, this is what we could do. We have this available and that available. And I guess an example of that, the unfortunate tragedy, we saw that the mother was charged for the murder of the baby that was poisoned. So we weren't entirely sure the relations of the family member who committed the act. Now it's confirmed to be the mother in reports. And I guess it's not just with regards to okay, you arrested her, but you also have support services for the trauma of the family around her that had to deal with that double loss of both the baby and the mother, as well as potentially the community as well, because who knows how these sorts of tragedies could impact the lives of the people living there.
And so true, Sean. So our victim and witness support unit would be involved in this. The counseling aspect of it is wide, because from a community perspective, there are certain type of counseling, because you will get certain type of feelings and emotions coming out. You may even have persons within a community outside of this community that going through a situation like this and don't know how to get some attention or get some support by the police bringing out this information through the platforms like we use our social media platforms, by informing the public what we do and type of services that we can provide and the avenues that we can afford the opportunities for you. Persons are now coming forward and asking for the assistance. Right? And just to add some more to Keaton, our legal clinics are structured because we understand that several of the incidents that come to these stations are disputes, land disputes, domestic disputes for certain, what we may consider to be trivial, but in the minds of the individuals, it's traumatic because it could lead to certain violent acts, and they don't understand what is taking place, and they don't understand the laws associated with land and land disputes. Now, those are very technical things that our legal clinic, when we sit, we bring persons together, they can access that, and they have persons who will advise persons on these situations and the best opportunities that they have and the best avenues that they can utilize. We also have the, with Sergeant Small brought out in the Central Division Enterprise area, we have the parenting program. Now that's a very unique program that is going to be adopted throughout the 10 divisions, but Sergeant Paul has been the one to push it. He has a passion for it, and based on the model that he has utilized in that area, it has bear a lot of fruit. So that is now going to be utilized throughout the 9 divisions and the different communities, but it may be tailored, as I say, to certain communities based on some of the little needs that they may have. Then we also have the aspect of, in St. Joseph, we have the conflict resolution center in St. Joseph Community Center, where WC Goddard is doing a tremendous job there, getting this aspect off. So we have unique situations that tailor towards specific activities, conflict regulation, parenting, and legal clinics. And then we have a general now where we talk about station councils. We want to move away from the police having functions or events in the divisions, in the districts, in your community, where it is police-oriented events. We want to come away, we want to make it the way that you, the community, you decide to have something and invite the police to be part of it. That gap we build in here where you take control of what activity you want to have. You are developing and you're bringing your community together, and we are supporting your community. Right now it's a reverse. We are going there trying to get you empowered. We are trying to make you feel that your community belongs to you.
Well, how has the public response been to these initiatives? Because I think one of the issues is we know that public coming forward as witnesses or to make certain reports has been unfortunately low. And I say that because it's probably impacted crime fighting for years now. So has the public been engaging with these initiatives?
They have been, like everything else, it's a step in the right direction. It's slow because bringing back public trust and confidence in an individual takes some time. It's a two-way street that it is not as easy to build trust of individuals because there are a lot of things that everybody look for that is considered to be building trust. So we are doing, we continue to do and push forward. So that is why our engagement is important, because if we know what the community is looking for, what are their needs, specifically to that community in a bigger society, we can work with you now and build back that trust and confidence. One of the things that we keep on trying to get persons to do is that with the things of the community watch groups, right? And going back to the whole thing of community, establishing your community groups. You, the community, have to come together and establish a group. Go back to the community center concept, where the community is the main element in the area, right? We want to go back. We want the persons in that area to go back to that area, right? You build yours, and bring us as part of a stakeholder, right? one of the things that we want, as you mentioned there, is that right now you realize that persons have a stigma, the stigma of being an informant, being a snitch, or how they call your informer, you're selling way out and all of that. We want the public and we want these community and we want the persons in the citizens to see themselves not as an informer, not as a snitch, but as a concerned citizen. That mindset we are trying to get you to believe that you, Sean Small, you, Keaton, is a concerned citizen. And when you speak to the police, you are speaking on the footing of a concerned citizen. I am not seeing myself as an informer. I am not seeing myself as a snitch. I am a concerned citizen because I'm concerned with what is taking place in my community and in Trinidad and Tobago holistically.
Yeah, but acting as speakers, I know we don't have much time before the news, but what's the difference between a snitch and informant and a concerned citizen in the aspect that at the end of the day, I may still lose my life?
And I agree. But it all depends on how you view it. What is acceptable in society? Because the stigma associated with an informant is just is the same thing as a concerned citizen. But getting somebody's mindset changed to understand that I am not an informant. I am a concerned citizen. I have a responsibility in my community. I have a responsibility in my workplace. I have a responsibility within Trinidad and Tobago to be a responsible citizen to make Trinidad and Tobago a better place. If I view myself as an informer, you're not looking at, I don't want you to look at yourself as an informer, right? Because a concerned citizen doesn't have to be given information on criminal activities, you know. A concerned citizen is just, you see a situation taking place in the area, like, okay, the lights are not working, the street lights are not working, we don't have street signs, there's an empty lot of land that needs to be cleared. That is a concerned citizen, because you're concerned about the well-being of your community. And we don't want it always to be said that you're giving information on criminal activities. It is not about that alone. Being a concerned citizen, you're concerned with everything in your community, both positive and negative. So you're concerned and you're sharing information for positive outcomes in your community. So we have to look at it from that perspective, and if we see it as being you are a concerned citizen, maybe the stigma attached to informant would be mitigated, and persons see themselves more and bringing information and working in partnership with the police, as well as other agencies to get your community, because we have to work from community to community. We can't fix Trinidad and Tobago holistically, because you have to work from little areas to little areas of your concerns.
Well, folks, I mean, it's an important concept, one that might be a long-term project to see significant benefits, but we might even see some good signs in the short term. We have to wait and see how these things unfold. Hopefully they make a difference with the rising crime. But we have to break for news on the hour on WESN. When we return, we'll open up the phone lines, and the three of us will more than be happy to take on your questions, your calls, your concerns. Stay tuned. This is Talking About on WESN. We'll be right back.
Is your WESN News on the Hour. I am Marquise Akers. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Karen Nunes to share ICNTT leadership. 30-year-old woman charged with a 9-month-old baby's manslaughter. Tobago man charged with cousin's murder. And internationally, 125 die in Indonesia stadium incident. Now for the details. Former Finance Minister under the PNM administration, Karen Nunes Teixeira, has announced that she plans to challenge Dr. Keith Rowley to be party leader of the PNM. She broke the news on an international media network on Saturday night.
I have a responsibility whilst I am here on this earth and part of this country and love of my country and the experience I have had and the education and all that goes with it, to offer myself in service to the people of Trinidad.
So let me just make it clear, right, that you have decided to put yourself forward to become the political leader of the PNM in the upcoming internal election.
Yes, I have.
The PNM Internal Election Supervisory Committee held its first meeting on Saturday. Internal elections are carded for the 26th and 27th of November and 4th December, while nomination day is 10th of October. A 30-year-old woman is expected to appear before a Princestown magistrate today, charged with the manslaughter of her 9-month-old daughter. Shalini Ramsarup of New Grant was charged with the offense on Friday. On 21st September, an unregistered 9-month-old female was brought unresponsive to the Princestown Health Facility for treatment and transferred to the San Fernando General Hospital, where she was pronounced dead. Following an investigation into the matter, a female relative of the child was arrested. A Tobago man is expected to appear virtually before a Scarborough magistrate today, charged with the murder of his cousin Matthew Kenrick James, which occurred on 24th September. Kurt James of Store Bay Local Road, Bon Accord, was charged with the offense on Friday. On 24th September, officers responded to a report of a wounding in the Crown Point district. On arrival, they met a man who alleged that he was walking to the garden at the back of his home when he was approached by a male relative armed with a cutlass and a hoe, who told him not to go into his garden. An altercation ensued, during which the male relative was chopped several times. The victim died at the scene. In international news, at least 125 people have died in a crash at an Indonesia football match that has become one of the world's worst stadium disasters. Hundreds were also hurt in aftermath of home team Arema FC's loss to bitter rival at the overcrowded stadium late on Saturday in Malang, East Java. The crash took place after police tear-gassed fans who invaded the pitch. As panic spread, thousands surged towards Kanjuran Stadium's exit, where many suffocated. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I am Marquise Akers. Thanks for watching.
Come travel with us as we explore Diwali across the globe. Diwali is celebrated in many countries worldwide, but do you know the traditions and practices of each nation? From Guyana to Australia, WESN presents Diwali Passport, October 3rd to October 23rd, with replays on October 24th. It's Diwali Passport, a WESN exclusive.
Good morning, ladies and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Talking Point, and of course, we're opening up the phone lines. We have a caller already. Yes, as there are days where if you want to get your call in, you need to call in ahead to be the first caller. I believe this caller is from Diego Martin. Good morning. Pity Valley. Good morning, Pity Valley. I think I know who this is.
Okay. Good morning, Sean and Keaton.
Morning.
I want to speak about the opposition leader address to the budget.
Yeah.
3 points I want to touch on that she spoke about: reopening Petrotrin, the 4% of the wages, and subsidies. I want to know, or ask you, or probably her if she's listening, how she intends to open Petrotrin when oil and gas is a declining industry, where the government is bailing out Petrotrin billions of dollars to keep it open, and if you notice, no investor so far don't want to touch it because it's not a good investment. 2, where she going to find the money, the $15 billion to pay all public servants. And 3, subsidize issues. Do people know the government subsidized gas, air bridge, electricity, water, transport, and the big one, healthcare. Healthcare, which we like to talk about, we like to boast about United States. Sean, you will know, is very, very expensive. That is why Obama wanted to implement Obamacare, because they pay their money for healthcare in America, and the insurance is high. Sean and Keaton, are you know, guess how much I pay for healthcare? My payslip is in front of me right now. Sean, take a guess. Take a guess, Sean.
Thousands of dollars, and I'm just...
No, me. Here, how much I pay for healthcare?
Oh, well, I mean, if it's through the Ministry of Health, it would be zero, unless you want to count your taxes.
No, let me tell you how much I pay for healthcare.
Okay.
$16.50 a fortnight. That is $33 a month.
Also charge.
Right.
Right, so when we speak about you don't get this and you don't get that in the hospital and you don't get this and you don't get that, we are not to get proper good health care. You have to pay for it. Last but not least, everybody talk about diversity, diversification. And we speak about agriculture. Yes, that will take years. Let me give our advice to diversify the economy in short term and the medium term. Cut out all the subsidies, air bridge, sea bridge, electricity, water, transportation. Let people pay the correct price for it. Just leave education, subsidized education. And that $1 billion you will be saving, $1 billion, you could have proper health care, proper roads, proper everything what people are complaining about. Guys, have a nice day. You could talk about it after.
Thank you, caller. I mean, that might be a bit more heavy-handed than even I would have liked to see. And I wanted to see potentially not raises and subsidies, maybe cuts. Cuts would be hard, I get that. So I wasn't like hell-bent on that. He's going all the way, Keaton.
No, I was just going to say, the very first question in relation to Petron, he asked a very good question.
Yes.
It's the same I asked earlier. Not only why it is we're going to reopen Petron now, but how is it that we're going to reopen Petron now?
But I think he made a good point. Is it worth it long term to invest that capital into Petrotrin in an industry? Because yes, oil and gas is not over, but he's right. How much money is being invested? We're not Guyana.
No, but I agree with the point that you made, and as it relates to subsidies, again, it's another good point. I think the only area which I would disagree with the caller, because for the most part everything he said was fine, but I would disagree, is that these are difficult times and difficult decisions need to be made. However, it's very difficult to just say, all right, we're going to remove the subsidy on everything now. People in Trinidad and Tobago might not be able to survive. And then on top of that, you said if you remove this subsidy now, those billions of dollars that you would be saving would be reinvested. And Kola, I disagree with you on that point as well, because from what I've seen in terms of management and governance here in Trinidad and Tobago, we might not even account for that money that will be saved. If we remove all the subsidies. But for the most part, I understand your points, and I agree with them to a certain extent. We
have a caller. I'll just say, if we don't subsidize ANC Bridge, Tobago's economy will probably collapse. We have a caller, I believe, from Tacarigua. Good morning, caller. Morning, caller. You're on the air.
Right. I totally disagree with that caller from Petit Valley said. It doesn't mean that what one man can do, somebody else can do. Right? So, I'll give you a classic example. I ain't calling nobody name. There was a gentleman who bought a new brand car from the company, and every time the car reaches a certain speed, he cuts it off. Carry back to the company. Months, and he can't get it back, same thing. Come on, no, anyone can on the road, he say park it up there, pass back in for half an hour. And half an hour time he fix it. So, what the PNM can do, it don't mean Gamla can do. That is total stupidness. The next thing I want to say, you ever hear anybody else in the world named Iscariot? Judas Iscariot? After what Judas did, It don't matter what you say about informer, how you twist it or turn it. And that informer stain of Judas Iscariot will always remain. Nobody want to be no informer because of Judas. Thank you, fellas.
Thank you, caller. Well, I don't know if you want to comment on that. I'm not...
The biblical concept, I'm not going into the biblical concepts.
Yeah.
All right, but the fact of the matter is that we have a lot of stigmatization, and if we want to go further, if we want to get people to understand that we have to work together to make Trinidad and Tobago a better place, and the police service is doing what is required to change the mindset of individuals.
Just quick, I think it's basically saying, are the gangs claiming the communities? Because who exactly would concerned citizens be betraying? We're not talking about betraying the neighbor who doing some little stupid $5 illegal thing in the backyard. We're talking about we're talking about cleaning up the community, non-criminal things, as well as, hey, the guy that shot my neighbor, he went that way.
That is what we look. That is the concept we're looking at. Our concerned citizen. Concerned citizen is not only, quote unquote, I will use the word, an informer to the police. A concerned citizen is somebody who's concerned with what is taking place in their area, both from a social perspective. A simple thing like this. Being a concerned citizen may be concerned that you have garbage pile up in our area over a period of time. And you talk to your neighbor. Do not keep on putting your garbage there because it is a health hazard for the whole community. So that is a concerned citizen concept.
We have a caller on the line from Sugarnas. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, morning.
I have explained the position with subsidies before. Subsidies is not to create artificial demand. They are to prevent hardship. If on the other hand you hear our ministers talking about we have the cheapest electricity in the world, we have the cheapest gas, we have that. That is not the purpose of subsidy. When gas was subsidized is when OPEC came up and the cost of gasoline went up about 500%. There is no need to subsidize gas. When I'm talking about removing part of the subsidy, it should get rid of that total subsidy on gas. On electricity, again, we talk about the cheapest electricity in the world, and it's the same problem. It is waste. It is the principle of subsidy that is the important thing. You look to see that it prevents hardship, not to get the cheapest in the world. I'm glad to see Karen is going up to challenge Rowley, because she has been given all the ammunition she needs to deal with him on this program. Any questions, gentlemen?
No, Professor. We do have another caller. But I agree with the point. I will comment on it and explain why after the next call. We have a caller from Diego Martin. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Morning, morning.
Morning.
Comment,
oh gosh, I think caller, if you can hear me, you're breaking up really bad. Okay, do we have another caller? I don't know if you could call back.
If you're providing CT, I understand.
Yeah,
hello, so you hear me?
We're hearing you now.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. I just want to make a comment. Pretty wasn't really wrong what you're saying, but the point about it is that these things should have been done when the money was flowing, not when we don't have money to spend and so on now. Because it's difficult for you to face all those things now. So that, you see, the people who should have had that foresight was the government before and long ago, and put things in place like that. But you see, this whole thing is political, so you'll never get these things changing like that. And also, the comments on these certain ministers that they made during parliament debate, I can't understand some of them. They don't realize that they don't give up anything to the public for anything. They have everything. And the poor man outside, he was looking on and seeing all this that is going on with them. And they're just spending and have everything, free of this, get free gas, free every single thing. They have to give up something and show the public that they mean what they say. Right? So I just think that there's a fair assumption of everything. Thank you for taking my call and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller. So,
caller, your last point, caller. actions, not words, actions. I agree with you. Let's see what these ministers and MPs are going to do as part of their sacrifice. And again, Pitty Valley made very good points. It's just the timing.
I think, so if you didn't understand what our last caller was saying, his first point, it was basically saying that it's difficult to pay all these subsidies now. And I think the key thing is, the problem is when you put subsidies in place out of hardship and you leave them in place, the economy becomes balanced around them. That's why I said the Tobago economy will be in problems, because it's now balanced around these subsidized air and sea bridge tickets. And to remove it now, to rip that band-aid off. But the unfortunate thing is, while it might be a problem to do it, we can't necessarily afford it the way how we're going. So what do we do? Therein lies the difficult question, and the government may or may not be answering correctly. We have a call on the line from Diego Martin.
Hi, pleasant morning.
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 I appreciate the new venture that the police service is undertaking. I think that will help a lot. Along with, I think we could revamp the North secondary schools and what used to be the junior secondary schools and make them technical colleges. That would also help in terms of capturing some of these young men who turn to the life of crime by training them to be entrepreneurs from an early age, giving them an early start, because one of the things is that their financial resources is not in place, right? So maybe that would help. The other thing is that we have to look at food security urgently, right? Because the cost of product to bring stuff from St. Vincent and so and the other small islands is a bit limited at this time. We need to to revamp our structures and maybe our cocoa industry in a meaningful way. Also, too, I would like the politicians themselves to have an input in terms of pay their taxes and eliminate all of these perks that they get on the side. You know, we really do need to make a sacrifice for our country at this present time, right, in order to survive, and stop some people come on talk shows and so, and I don't know if they understand that persons sitting in the audience can relate to their bias, right? So it's about time we really do contribute to our country, even though some of us may think that it's a little too late in terms of our financial resources, but we do have financial resources. Another issue that I would like to touch on is the Petrotrain oil refinery. A lot of us think that Petrotrain only produce gas-related products. They also produce road building-related products, a very important product that I think is properly managed, right, maybe at a smaller scale. The income, the foreign exchange coming in from that venture, right? Because you need roads all over the world. It's just a matter of putting the right people in place to move forward with this type of industry. So if you're looking at, there are other ways, there are other means of income in our country, but we need to somehow or the other stop the party politics and the million and one different negative ways that we have of approaching situations in our country. Well, and move forward. We also need.
Caller, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, that's all right.
Thank you for the call, but we have another caller behind you. But we really appreciate the point. That last point you made, especially, I think. I'll come back to that. We'll come back to that later. But we have a caller from San Fernando.
Yeah. Hey, gentlemen, morning.
Morning.
Morning. Good morning.
And while I was tempted to jump into that other debate, I would probably hold a comment for tomorrow, another day. I want to ask a question to the officer.
Well, go ahead.
Morning, sir.
Morning.
I would like to find out, does the police service, with respect to the youth, do you all have any programs that you all work with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of that Youth Development Ministry? Any kind of collaboration with those two? Because I think one of the issues that I have is that sometimes you need to come from the source in a different way. It's just like how you all do the community policing, that you all have another program apart from what Chabadi and they do. Something that you all could go into the schools and talk. And, because there is and there's a generation that needs to understand that the police is my friend, not my enemy. And I just wanted to find out, because I haven't heard of anything about that, so I just wanted to ask you that question. I'll listen off here.
Thank you, caller.
Yeah, so we do have programs that we work together with the Ministry of Education and other entities. Now, I understand what he is going with in terms of these specific type programs for youths, like the YTEP programs, the Defense Force, a lot of the Defense Force run. The police service doesn't have programs like those. But I understand what he's talking about. It's something that we are considering based on this new outreach that we are doing. It falls into the category of the GRACE program that project that we're going to run also, because it's about, as I said, GRACE is a gang reduction through in community empowerment. So these are things we have to marry together and understanding. So the caller made a very important point, that it is now the time probably might be right now for us to get these youths to know that we are not their enemies, because there's a lot of stresses both in their family, in their social circles, and all the different things that they view us as their, we adding to it. So we just want to make sure that we are trying to ensure that we are not the instigators of the stress, but we are trying to alleviate. We are an avenue for them to help.
Yes. Well, we have our final call for the morning. Another call from Diego Martin. Good morning.
John, I totally agree. Politicians are selfish, stubborn, but they say stupid things. Scotland wants people to revert to coal while the world is moving away from fossil fuel. But I guess he's probably already brain damaged if he's been using that for 25 years. We cannot afford more cancer, asthma, heart disease, or brain disorders. Because why again? Poor health care. And if he really wants to ride a bike, they should consider a bike lane, as has been the case in civilized countries, Germany, Netherlands, France, Scandinavia. Or he could run the risk of being knocked down and killed by a lawless driver. But again, he won't know these things, you see, because he still wants to destroy Adam Smith Square, which is a green urban space, to build a police station. Shamfa Kajo, shown it west. I think she's out of place to tell people to make sacrifices for the sake of their children, because people have been doing that forever, and, people still do not have jobs. Taxpayers' money paying for her, Donna Cox, Robinson, Regis, Gatsby, Dolly to dress to kill. Lastly, Keaton, Kwasi Kwarteng. Once more, we see why we cannot trust Liz Truss. She's a flip-flopper, just like Brexit. One thing today, tomorrow next thing. She continues to say we have a very clear plan. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, caller.
Well, don't get me started on this stress, caller. Thank you very much for your contribution. I mean, a whole hour.
Well, I mean, I'll just like to say, the idea for the refinery for, bitumen, I believe, is one of the main things on how much money we have to spend to import that. I think if somebody crunched the numbers, so caller from, I can't remember if it's Tacarigua who made this point, or San Fernando. If somebody were to crunch the numbers, and if the opposition was to use this point for the refinery, crunch some numbers, it might not be the exact figures, but give us a better idea of what we could benefit from this long term and short term. That will make it better. More technical colleges or trade schools, that has been something that I've heard from people that I talk to is a major problem. And healthcare, I don't know if I've said this on air before, but basically healthcare, there are three things that you want. universal availability for everyone, affordability, if not free, and then for it to be good or great or however high quality you think it needs to be. The problem is, out of those three things, you could only get two of them. You cannot get all three at the same time. Economics, it's not about the government or the Ministry of Finance or any country. Just economics will not allow you to have all three. So in this country, we have affordability and universal availability. Don't expect it to be great. If we want it to be great, we're going to lose one of those two things. Which one are we prepared to lose? Gentlemen?
So it's very interesting to the topics that came out of this. And it's so pertinent now for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service that increases in cost of living, financial, social, economic stresses that persons going through have a rippling effect that can, in some circumstances, add to aggression, add to persons behaving in a particular way, and confrontation with police officers. And we see in the police service as part and parcel of this whole stresses that they keep on bringing against us. We are the ones to instigate because we want to enforce the laws and we want to do this and we want to do that, and we add into those stresses. So we're in a unique position, but very in a tricky situation at the same time, that we have to balance that approach, that when we look at the different communities and what the communities are going through, that we do not go in there not understanding what the environmental stresses are taking place in that community and working towards them and alleviating some of those issues that we have control over. We do have control over the financial issues, but we can assist these individuals to cope with certain things that they may be able to deal with in enhancing their livelihoods in that area. So it's a balancing act that we are doing right now from the community policing perspective, the social side of it, the softer approach, because we realize that the softer approach is more needed at this point in time because the amount of things that is happening out there, the individual is overwhelmed in different fears, and police adding to it, it's going to create more friction. So that is why we are there now, trying to bring the different side of the police, that we are not here to antagonize or increase, right? We are here to work together with you, partnership with you. Yes, we're not perfect. We have some challenges. The same stresses that you are going through, police officers are also facing that at the same time. But the bigger picture is that we want to make Trinidad and Tobago a safer place, because if persons have a mindset that even all these things that's going on around them, they are comfortable in their home and they can enjoy their property and their peace, the likelihoods of persons doing criminal activities and confrontational to the police with police officers and breaching the laws will be mitigated.
Well said. Mr. Gitan Shah, I leave the final word to you. You're muted.
My final words are the words expressed by the last caller from Digger Martin. Welcome to Monday. Anyway, Sean Michael Small, acting ASP. Again, sorry it has to be via Zoom, but circumstances only justify such. Nevertheless, I'm happy that I was able to join in this conversation this morning, and I look forward to continued discussions over the next couple of days. The next coming months are going to be critical between now and February. But, Sean, what's the national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago?
Don't put me on the spot and sing the anthem when I can't stand, Keaton.
We jamming still, Sean. We jamming.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We're moving slow.
Today is a good day. Have a good Monday.
Well, folks, we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.